Hey everyone, welcome to Financial Revelations. I am David Szafranski, your host. You can call here 1-800-344-2534. You can email Corey. Don't email me, I'm not going to pick it up, but Corey will tell me the important ones. Corey at epsf.com. You can buy my book. I wrote a book called The Sin of Retirement. It's available on my website, sinofretirement.com. Corey's going to put up a picture of it, of the book, and the website. You can also get it on Amazon. There's an audio book available. So it's all there. At my website, sinofretirement.com, there's merch that you can get. And one of the things is about stepped up basis. Stepped up, I talked about this last time, and I said I would talk about it more, but since then we've gone to war, so I don't want to spend the time on stepped up basis today. I want to spend it on other things. But stepped up basis is a tax law that essentially says if I bought my house, it's appreciated dramatically since I built it and bought it. And when I die and I give it to my kids, they get it at the value of my death, not the value that I paid for it. That's stepped up basis. It gets stepped up to the date of my death. And it's powerful because, my house is worth a couple $1,000,000, and I didn't pay that for it. It's just the appreciation of it, and the area that I built in has appreciated dramatically. They're not going to pay any tax on that. The difference between what I paid for it and what they inherited it at. So it's a very powerful thing. It's one of the reasons why home ownership is so important. It is a wealth creation device, but there's stocks, other things. Real property gets stepped up basis in transfer of debts. So if it's done correctly, it's very important that you realize these things. If you have a highly appreciated stock, you bought it for $1, let's say, and it's now worth $500. If you invested early on in Berkshire Hathaway, it's even better than that. Well, if you hold that stock until you die and then give it to your kids or anybody else, they get stepped up basis. They get at the value of your death, not the value that you bought it at. So it's a very important concept, tax law, that we have to pay attention to. And it's why things like stocks and other investments and houses create such generational wealth in some cases because of stepped up basis. So, but you can call here, you can reach out to us, you can email us. I'll return emails, I return calls eventually. I want you to get the book. The book's important to me. I want the book to be important to you. It's a roadmap for a successful retirement, not a chastisement of retirement. I personally am going to choose to never retire. That's just my personal choice. It doesn't mean I'm right and you're wrong. It just means I think about it differently. I really like what I do, so I understand that some people, they work a physical job or they work a job where they're forced to retire at a certain age. Barring or the absence of bad health, I'm going to do this as long as I can because I really love it. I love building things, and I get to do a lot of other things. I'm going to the Amazon to do a missions trip this month. We'll be there, and we're going to do the podcast from there. Corey will record it. We've done this before. We're going to interview a reporter from the Wall Street Journal who's going with us. So these things are really, I love to work. I love to build. I love to create. I love to drive. I love all these things. It's what I'm made of, and it's how I learned. And in some sense, I think if I slowed down, I don't know what would happen to me. I might fall apart. And but it's not the reason why I keep going. I keep going because I really like to do it. And to be honest, I'm good at it. I'm really good at making people money, and I love doing that. We have made so many people so much money. It's just extraordinary, and it's getting even better. So, hey, so we went to war over the weekend. I don't know if you read about this, but I want to talk about the 8 things that have really happened in the past month or two. Okay, and they involve Iran and Venezuela, and those Iran and Venezuela are intricately connected. Intricately connected. And for one thing, Iran, we went to war with Iran, or we started bombing, or we took this military action, whatever you want to call it, in Iran for several reasons. Probably the number one reason is this caliphate. They're not bent on power. That's not what they want. Of course, they want that. They're really bent on destroying us, and it's their way to bring back the seventh Imam, is to blow up the world, to kill the Jews and to destroy the great state in America. And they're not going to be satisfied until they do that. So when you negotiate with people like this, you're not negotiating with somebody, you're not negotiating with a rational actor. They're not going to be rational about it. They're going to lie to you, they're going to cheat, they're going to do everything to subvert your negotiations, they're going to drag you out, and then one day you're going to wake up and they have a nuclear bomb. And that's exactly what happened in North Korea. We had the IAEA in there, we were negotiating with them, we had inspectors all over the place, and one morning they said, oh, by the way, we've got nuclear weapons, you might want to leave us alone. Now, the difference between Iran and North Korea is North Korea stays mainly in their borders. They oppress their own people. They do cyber warfare occasionally and blast a missile off over Japan, which is unnerving for the Japanese, of course, because there could be a mistake. And they counterfeit. They are the number one state-sponsored counterfeiters in the world. They have the same printing presses that our Treasury Department has. They have those in North Korea, and they counterfeit our money and the euro and every other currency that's worth counterfeiting with monotonous regularity. But they don't really bother people. So North Korea doesn't come out and say, well, we want to kill every American. It is Iran's stated goal to kill every American and every Jew. And so that's why we went to war there. They had, if you believe this to be the truth, okay, and I don't know why it wouldn't be, but of course they tell us what they want us to know. The Jared Kushner and the other negotiator, just Steve Witkoff, said that the Iranians were bragging that they had 460 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium, enough to make 11 nuclear bombs. Now, how do you think it would be negotiating with Iran if they had one nuclear bomb, let alone 11? And you're not going to be able to find them all in time. Just like we haven't been able to find all the drones in time. Nuclear bombs aren't as big as they used to be. Like when you see that from the first nuclear bombs that we dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they were the size of like 2 Volkswagens. They're not like that anymore. They're small. They can be very small. And they don't need to put it on a warhead. They just need to smuggle it someplace, which is not as hard as you might think. And so Iran is an action that does a couple things. One, it destroys their ability to launch long-range weapons at us or Israel. Totally degrades their military capacity. We've destroyed their warships all over the place. Indian Ocean yesterday, why a submarine, one of our nuclear submarines sunk one of their big boats. I mean, this is a big ship. It's like 400 feet long with a torpedo, the first time since World War II. Good shot, guys. So we're totally degrading their military capacity. We've killed all of their leadership. They got cocky. They're like meeting on the veranda in the broad daylight while missiles are entering the atmosphere. They're so dumb. Thank God they're cocky and dumb. But the other thing that it does is it separates them from Russia. And they are a major source of drone production for Russia. And it also takes away Russia's, if they needed the oil, they don't, but it takes away Iranian oil for Russia and China. It separates them from China. This is a big deal. Venezuela. Two of the big things that happened with Venezuela is, well, we took out Maduro, of course, he technically isn't a narco guy, but he allows the drugs to come through Venezuela unabated, gets paid for it, and then they come to America and go to Europe, and they kill people. I mean, that's what they do. They kill people. Fentanyl deaths are at an all-time low for recent history. Murders are at an all-time low because we're deporting murderers and a bunch of bad people. But in Venezuela, we took out Cuba, China, and Russia in one fell swoop. Venezuela is basically a nation state of Cuba, and they give Cuba oil for free, essentially. That's over. Cuba is not going to be sustainable at its current rate. They're going to have a humanitarian crisis that we'll help with, of course. We'll help with that. We don't want to see people suffer, but we do want to see the regime suffer, because Cuba could be a huge vacation destination. It could be a very prosperous place. I mean, you look at places around the Caribbean and I've been everywhere around the Caribbean because I'm a scuba diver and I like to dive in warm water. I hate diving in cold water. I don't know why anybody would do that. But we've been everywhere around the Caribbean, and there are some very wealthy countries around the Caribbean, mainly based on tourism. Nothing wrong with that. And Cuba is so close to the United States, it could be really a travel destination, and it could be beautiful. It's not, but it could be. So that's what we've done in the last month. We've taken Russia, we've taken China, we've taken Venezuela, we've taken Iran off the global terror map. In essence, we've isolated them. The fifth thing that we've done is we've removed Britain from the financial gains of worldwide wars. They're not even involved in this. Well, they say they don't want to be involved in this, but trust me, they want to be involved in this. In the last couple of weeks, while all this is going on, Prince Andrew got arrested and Peter Mandelson got arrested. Now, you may not know the name Peter Mandelson, but he's a high-ranking former diplomat from Britain who was really the government's financial arm around the world in places like Iran and Afghanistan. And they both got caught giving Jeffrey Epstein, of all people, classified documents on how the British government was going to make money off of Iraq, Afghanistan, and they would have done the same thing in Iran. These people are scuzzbags. Now, I know Bill and Hillary Clinton testified in front of Congress the last couple of days. I'm not a big fan of Bill and Hillary Clinton at all. I don't think that Bill Clinton was messing around with children. I just don't see that. It's not in his history. And I know we don't have to like Bill Clinton to realize that he probably didn't do that. Did he mess around there? Who cares? Really, who cares? Jeffrey Epstein was probably the wealth that Jeffrey Epstein had, you cannot create in a normal fashion. He either had to be running guns, or it was a government-funded operation, or I believe he was probably an arms dealer for the government, for different governments. That's how you build, he was a billionaire. And that's hard to do. You don't do that owning McDonald's franchises. So it's got to be something extraordinary. There's only a little over 3,000 billionaires in the world today. So it's not a very big group of people when there's 6 billion people in the world. So, what we've done, though, by taking them out of play and taking Britain off of this operation, is we've shortened their reach. Their financial interests are not our interests. And they will work against us at every turn if they get the opportunity. I know we have a long and storied relationship with Britain, but they don't always act in our best interest. But we have choked off 20 to 25% of China's oil supply, and cheap energy is kind of the mother's milk of a growing and burgeoning economy. They don't have that right now. They're going to have to pay for oil. We'll sell it to them. We'll sell it to them from Venezuela at a market price plus. And we really put Russia at risk of large-scale weapon replenishment. They're just not going to have it. In essence, this has been a masterclass in the projection of power so far. Now, why do I say so far? Because war is unpredictable. And what you're seeing right now, and I watched the briefing this morning from the Secretary of War and the Chairman of Joint Chiefs, you're seeing Iran is basically blowing up. I have notes today because I want to hit certain points. I don't want to miss them. Iran's deployment of drones and other things is dropping precipitously. And the reason is that Iran fired off everything they had early because they can't risk it being found and destroyed before they shoot it off. So you're going to see by the end of next week, they're going to have nothing left to shoot off. Okay? And then the end is near because they can't defend their skies, they can't defend their seas. We're not putting boots on the ground. Khomeini's son got elected as the new supreme leader yesterday afternoon. He was killed last night. We basically have control of the country. We're going to use cyber against them. We're arming people to go in there and kind of start the revolution. the end is near. Now, here's my prediction to what's going to happen is, and I got to preface this with absent an exogenous event. Okay, so could there be a trick up somebody's sleeve? Of course there could be. There's things that we know. Okay, we know pretty much where the production facilities are at and all that. There's those things we know. There's things that we know we don't know, like where they've moved a lot of the stuff. We don't know where all of that stuff is, and we know we don't know that. So we're looking for it. We have drones loitering 24/7. We're using satellites. We're doing everything we can to find movement. And when you're in the Army, one of the things that they tell you is if you're about to get attacked, don't move. Just don't move. The minute you move, you get seen. So probably they're keeping some stuff hidden, and they're going to move it when they absolutely need to, and we'll be there for that. I'm sure we have planes flying around, armed drones, all these things, waiting for movement. And once we see that, we'll blow it up, but absent an exogenous event. So my prediction is military operations will be over in 4 to 6 weeks. There just won't be anything left to take out. They will be totally degraded militarily. If they want to project power within Iran, we really don't care, but I don't want to send our kids over there for Iran, unless we had to, and we don't have to right now. Energy prices in 2 months will be about 20% lower than what they are right now, because what we're doing is we're totally stabilizing the region. When you look at what Israel did in the 12-day war, what they've done to Hamas, what they're doing to the PLO right now, all of Iran's proxies are left out in the cold. Whatever they have is what they have. They're not getting any new deliveries. They're not getting any new bank transfers. None of that's happening. The entire leadership of the Iranian government has been killed. Everybody has been killed. It's akin to killing the president, the vice president, the entire cabinet, and half of Congress. That's what has happened in Iran right now. There's people, when you think of command and control, there's people at the top. They don't tell a lot of people under them what's going on. It's a need to know. Well, they didn't know what was going on. They have no way to reconstitute that government right now. They're gonna lose their power to project anything, money, weaponry, terrorism. That power is gone for right now. I think you're going to see a very positive stock market for March. Now, on Monday, the market reacted way better than what I thought it was going to react. Tuesday went down precipitously at the open and recovered. And I'm looking right over behind the camera is my screen. My stock screen is mainly green right now. And I think people are starting to realize this is better than what we expected. And I think in the long term, this is really positive. The things that have happened, Venezuela, Iran, segmenting Britain financially, isolating Russia, and sticking it to China on natural resources, it's very good for America, and it's extremely good for the world. And I would imagine that if you could speak confidentially to every leader in the Middle East that, like the UAE and Saudi Arabia and Qatar and all those guys, whether they say it publicly or not, most of them are saying it publicly not right now, but most leaders in the world would be thanking Donald Trump for what he did. Now, I know that there's a lot of political division right now, and the Democrats are being predictably predictable, except for John Fetterman, who is my favorite Republican right now, even though he's a Democrat, because he broke with party lines. And he said he's 100% behind the president. And I think, there are things that presidents do that are sometimes hard to get behind. I understand that. This isn't one of them. This is something that I do believe we should have done a long time ago. And because we haven't done it for a long time, we were really forced our hand right now. And we had an opportunity to take out the leadership that has avowed to kill you. They have avowed to kill you and your kids And all your pets, remember, they hate dogs. We heard that over the last couple of months, how much they hate dogs. I love dogs. I was going to bring Pixie here today, but I have a meeting. We gotta be behind the president. Now, I understand you may not like Donald Trump. That's your business. I think you're wrong. I think he's going to go down as one of the most consequential presidents in history because he has guts to do the things that other people just don't have the guts to do. And he's not predictably predictable. And I like that. I like that he's willing to do the tough things for the right reasons at the right time and have the conviction to defend them. That is hard to do in the face of all this criticism, and he's doing it. And if you can, support him in this. You don't have to vote for him next time if you don't want to. Well, he can't run again. But I love when he talks about running again because it lights people's hair on fire. But I would be in support of this no matter who it was. The leadership of Iran, not the Iranian people. The Iranian people don't like the leadership. They're actually a very cosmopolitan country in general. 50% of the population is under the age of 30. They've wanted change for a long time, and over the past couple of months, the regime has killed over 30,000 people who were protesting. Just killed them. And that's a lot of people. Your own people to kill. Now, should that lead us to war? I think not. But when their main purpose in life is to kill us and our allies, I think it does lead us to war, especially when they're developing the tools to do it. So the market's going to react well. They're not going to be able to attack us. Israel is doing yeoman's work in partnering with us in this. And maybe they said that they led the strikes on Khomeini's compound. I hope that's true. I do hope that's true. And I think in the long run, you're gonna see this as a very positive thing, and history is going to look very kindly upon this military action. You know, we're flying B-52s in the open in daylight right now. These are humongous planes. They're from 1962, still flying, but they can take almost 100,000 pounds of weaponry with them when they fly over there. That's how unafraid we are. We're not using stealth at night. We're using B-52s during the day. I think the B-2s are done. We don't want to put those planes at risk if we don't have to because we only got 20 of them. So B-52s and B-1s. Now, the difference between the B-1 and the B-2 is the B-1 flies supersonic. It's bigger and it's not stealth. Those planes are going out of service in a couple of years because they fly at a lower altitude, supersonic, and it stresses out the airframe, and they're super expensive to fix. So we're getting a new long-range bomber that it's going to be supersonic and probably stealthy too. So I am David Szafranski, a real American, a veteran. I was in the Army for 10 years. A true red-blooded gun-owning patriot and the voice you can trust.